Have you ever wondered why some women who don't possess dazzling looks or a perfect social media life manage to deeply captivate men who many would consider unattainable? What do they have? What makes them irresistible? What strategies do they employ that you may not have discovered yet? The answer, though revealing, lies not in physical appearance. It's not about makeup, tight clothing, or memorizing seduction techniques in front of a mirror. It's something much more subtle, yet infinitely more appealing. It is what Carl Jung understood perfectly. True feminine power lies in the ability to create an emotional connection, in the skill to touch a man's soul before touching his body. Once you master this, everything changes. But by then, it will no longer be about them. It will be about you, about the indestructible love that you have finally planted and nurtured in the only place where it can never be taken away from you, within. If this message resonated with you and inspired you to see yourself with new eyes, subscribe now and join me on this journey of personal power, self-love, and transformation, because this is only the beginning of your best version. Do you know where the true center of a man's desire lies? It's not where you've been led to believe. It's in his mind. It's where true longing is born. There his insecurities live, his ambitions reside. There lie his most intense experiences and unspoken desires. It is in that intimate and often chaotic space that you can enter if you master his emotional language. Many women grow up believing that to make a man fall in love, they must be physically attractive, that they must wait to be desired, pursued, or conquered. But the truth, the transforming truth, is that you don't need to start with the physical to win his complete devotion. In fact, if you learn to connect with the deeper side of his essence, something far beyond the surface, he'll surrender completely without understanding why. Carl Jung constantly reminded us that to change what we attract, we must change the energy we project. And this fits perfectly here. Let me reveal something rarely explained with clarity. A man may give himself physically to many, but emotionally, he only opens up to someone who touches something deeper than his surface. A world few dare to explore, but you can. Stay with me until the end, because in this presentation, you'll not only learn how to awaken his deep interest without physical contact, I'll also share expressions, practical examples, and an exclusive tool you can use in your next interaction to become truly unforgettable. This isn't abstract theory. This is psychology applied to relationships from a conscious feminine perspective, inspired by the principles of emotional transformation that Carl Jung taught. Let's begin. There's a powerful reality that few accept because it challenges all the conventions we've received since childhood. The male body isn't the point of deepest connection with you. It's not his most sensitive part, nor is it the one that creates the strongest bond. His true desire, what moves him, what transforms him, is born in his mind. Yes, that inner world full of thoughts, expectations, hidden fears, repressed desires, and contradictions. That's where the real alchemy happens. That's why after an intense connection, he won't remember so much what you did, but how you made him feel. This, my dear, is true influence. This is what makes him think of you, even in your absence. If you've ever felt frustrated because you give so much and receive so little, if it seems you're doing everything right, but still can't get that man to truly commit. You don't need to change your appearance or become more accommodating. You need to learn to connect with his mind before his body, to immerse yourself in his inner world. Once you understand how his mental world works, everything becomes clear. You no longer need to compete with anyone or exhaust yourself with attempts. What you do is cultivate emotions, awaken curiosity, and create desire from the invisible. Believe me, this kind of connection leaves an unforgettable mark. There's a huge difference between being physically attractive and becoming unforgettable to him. Anyone can catch his eye for a moment, but only the one who stimulates his imagination, his emotions, and his need to feel valued and admired will remain in his heart. Carl Jung said that everything we give returns multiplied. When you offer presence, sincerity, and confident feminine energy, it comes back to you transformed into genuine love. So, how do you connect with the male mind? With anticipation, not with immediacy. With subtle hints, not with complete frankness. The male mind, like the female mind, reacts more intensely to mystery than to the obvious. It's not about expressing everything. It's about creating space for his imagination, for the desire for more, for evoking your presence even in your absence. Play with the implied, with pauses, with glances that speak more than 1,000 words. Tease him with meaningful pauses. Make him wonder what lies behind your words. The secret is to make him feel emotions, because a man doesn't fall in love with your actions. He falls in love with how you make him feel through them. You can be straightforward, spontaneous, gentle, or passionate. But if you don't touch his mind, if you don't awaken emotional reactions, you'll remain just another fleeting memory. On the other hand, if you make him feel understood, admired, challenged, and intrigued, then you'll live in his thoughts, even when he's surrounded by others. Do you see why I say that the mind is the true starting point? Because that's where true desire is born, where lasting interest grows, where the fantasies that drive him to seek you without you needing to chase him are built. Connect with his mind, and his body will follow naturally. If you've understood the power hidden in these words, you're about to discover something even deeper. Because when the connection begins in the invisible, the visible becomes inevitable. While many continue to seek answers on the surface, you'll begin to connect from a much more intimate place, his inner world. It's important that you know this now. If you only touch the surface, the answers you get will also be superficial, automatic, and ultimately monotonous. But when you dare to explore his emotional world with sensitivity, intelligence, and full involvement, everything changes, because there's something men can't explain but can't ignore. A woman who knows how to connect with his soul before touching his body. While others focus their energy on perfecting their appearance, you'll awaken his desire through subtle things. A single word spoken at the right moment, a daring, steady gaze, a pause filled with intention, a comment that penetrates gently but deeply and stays in his thoughts for hours. As incredible as it sounds, this can be infinitely more exciting than any touch. because there truly is something no man can resist. A woman who knows how to arouse his mind before touching his skin. Some think it's enough to give compliments or repeat phrases like, "You look great today," but this doesn't touch anything deep. What truly awakens his interest is your ability to play with his imagination, create emotional tension, and leave him with a phrase he can't stop thinking about. This, my dear, is achieved through 3 subtle but incredibly powerful tools. If you learn to use them with grace, you'll become unforgettable to him. First, suggestive language, words that paint images. We're not talking about empty phrases or romantic cliches. We're talking about hints that, without being explicit, evoke a whole story in his head. For example, instead of saying, "I like you so much," try saying, "There's something about you that makes me think about things I probably shouldn't." Do you see the difference? You're not revealing anything directly, yet you're saying everything. He fills in the blanks, and that's the beauty of not laying everything out on a platter, of allowing him to imagine, wonder, and desire. When a man starts building mental stories with you, you stop being just another woman. You become his favorite story. That woman can be you if you decide to stop seeking from insecurity and start expressing yourself from your inner strength. As Carl Jung taught, when you heal your way of thinking and feeling, the world begins to react to you differently. And this applies to your emotional connections too. Now that you understand that the mind is the true center of desire, mere knowledge isn't enough. What really matters is how you use that knowledge to your advantage, and that's where most people go astray. Second, strategic silence. This may sound simple, but it's an incredibly powerful tool. When you learn to trust the power of silence, you realize you don't need to convince. You just need to resonate. Third, the art of almost. Not everything that starts needs to finish. There's a special allure in what remains incomplete. It's that moment when he leans in expecting a kiss, but instead you whisper something in his ear and pull away with an enigmatic smile. You hold eye contact. You don't add anything. You don't explain. You don't back down. That moment becomes magnetic. His mind starts working overtime. He wonders, will you say something else? Will you make a move? Or will you just savor the moment? That pause becomes a thought he can't shake. Jung reminded us that even what isn't spoken carries meaning. It didn't happen, but it almost did. And that almost becomes unforgettable. Why does it work? Because he expected completion, and you left him on the edge. You left the story open. You gave his mind space to imagine what could have happened. And that's often more powerful than 1,000 physical gestures. Now he's fascinated, not by what happened, but by what he still craves. They're an emotional art, a conscious feminine expression. Very few women use them intentionally because they require presence, inner confidence, and emotional mastery. But if you're here, it means you're ready to stop being just another woman and start being unforgettable. It's not about having the perfect body, saying the most romantic phrase, or making the most elaborate gesture. It's about learning to sneak into his imagination without permission, to touch emotions he can't control or explain. When you do that, there's no more competition. You're playing on another level, in a dimension where the energy you radiate speaks louder than any word. Carl Jung said that when we develop self-love, it naturally reflects outward. When you pull away, he doesn't experience satisfaction. He's left with hunger, and that's the secret. It's not about satisfying him right away. It's about creating emotional hunger, becoming that persistent thought, even when he tries to distract himself. These three tools, suggestive language, provocative silence, and the almost, that intensifies desire, aren't mere techniques. In this state, you become magnetic, irresistible, desired. The most beautiful part is that all of this already lives within you. You don't need to force it. You just need to remember it. A woman who refuses to settle for just being seen seeks to be felt. A woman who doesn't seek validation radiates authenticity. And that's where your real power lies. Do you know why? Because men may desire many, but they only remember one, the one who touched their soul. It's not about becoming a master of manipulation, not at all. It's about elevating your energy, learning to see beyond words, cultivating a presence so magnetic that it can't be ignored. When you start interacting from your inner strength, from your authenticity, from that self-love that Carl Jung spoke of so often, you not only transform yourself, but the world begins to react to you differently. Thank you for staying until the end of this presentation. If you found this content valuable, I invite you to leave a positive comment or a note of gratitude. Exactly as Jung taught, when you love yourself deeply, you raise your purity, and with it, the quality of love you attract. Now, think about this. Every conversation is an opportunity. Every glance, a bridge. Every silence, a message. When you talk to him, listen not just to what he says, but to what he holds back, what emotions he suppresses, what fear hides behind his confident posture. There's nothing more attractive to an emotionally mature man than a woman who brings him peace without losing her spark of mystery. Here's something even more powerful. Don't just awaken his desire, earn his respect. When a man respects you, he doesn't play with you. He doesn't question your worth. He doesn't offer crumbs. A man who respects you wants you to feel safe, valued, and important. To reach this state, you must first define who you are and how you deserve to be treated. It all starts with you, with your energy, your boundaries, your ability to say this yes and that no from a place of self-respect. Here's another important truth. Don't be afraid to leave a mark. Sometimes we think we need to keep things light, not go too deep, not show too much interest, so as not to scare him away. But true magnetism doesn't come from hiding. It comes from revealing yourself with grace and confidence. You're not here to beg for scraps of attention. You're here to create an experience, to become that unforgettable woman because you touched something no one else dared to touch, his most vulnerable emotional side. Men, even if they don't show it, crave understanding. They long to feel understood. They want to be admired, seen, and valued for who they are, not just for what they have achieved. When you truly perceive his inner world, not to fix him, but to accept him, he experiences something rare, peace. So, the next time you spend a moment with him, ask yourself, am I seeking validation, or am I expressing my truth? Am I aiming for a reaction, or am I leaving an authentic emotional impression? Am I acting from fear or from my power? The answers will determine whether you become a fleeting memory or an unforgettable presence. Never forget that what you attract is related to what you believe you deserve. From the moment you stop seeking externally what can only be built internally, your energy will begin to shift, and you won't need to announce it. Men notice it. Even if they can't explain it, it emanates from you. A tranquility that seduces, a presence that confuses those who expected the old you. When you become a woman who not only listens but observes, you pick up on nuances that previously eluded you. How does he react to certain topics? How does his body change when an emotion arises? How does he open up when he feels safe? There, in those small details, you plant the seeds of desire genuinely, not manipulatively. You don't need to control him. You only need to connect with his most human side. Genuine desire doesn't arise from control or mind games. It's born from a real emotional connection. When a man feels he can be himself, without masks, without pressure, he truly sees you, feels you, and that rarity can't be forgotten. Do you know what else evokes desire? A woman who is comfortable in her own skin. Not because she's perfect, but because she has nothing to hide. A woman who expresses herself without apologies, sets boundaries without aggression, knows when to move forward and when to wait. That woman doesn't need to seduce. She attracts naturally. Remember Carl Jung's words? What we think of ourselves becomes our truth. If you see yourself as strong, free, desired, and worthy of love, that's what you'll radiate. There's nothing more alluring than healthy self-esteem. That's why what I'm about to share is something few dare to apply. True seduction begins with you. That's why working on your self-esteem isn't a trifle. It's the foundation of everything. As Jung said, self-love is the greatest gift you can give yourself. From that moment on, everything starts to unfold. Celebrate yourself, respect yourself, love yourself. Because the more you do, the more you'll attract those who see your light, not just your reflection. When you're with him, instead of seeking his approval, observe him with curiosity. Listen with all your senses. Perceive him. Don't rush to fill the silence. Don't respond impulsively. Breathe. Only speak when you genuinely feel the urge to say something, not when you feel the need to please. If at some point he pulls away, don't take it as a defeat. Take it as a sign. A woman who has learned to reach a man's mind doesn't beg to stay in his life. She knows she doesn't need to convince anyone of her worth. A man who is ready for something meaningful with you will feel it from the start. So free yourself from everything. Free yourself from the anxiety of needing to be good enough. Free yourself from the obsession of provoking reactions. It starts with your inner dialogue, with how you treat yourself, with how you look at yourself in the mirror. When you look at yourself with admiration, when you truly realize your worth, you no longer settle for just anything. You don't settle for lukewarm attention or emotionally unavailable men. From that new energy, you choose differently, and that's what truly transforms your relationships. Free yourself from the need to control every outcome. Your value doesn't lie in how he reacts to you. It lies in how you choose to stay connected to yourself without losing yourself for anyone. If there's something I hope you take away from all of this, it's that you have more power than you realize. Once you become a woman who knows how to touch a man's mind, you no longer need to raise your voice to be heard or run to be noticed. Your presence is enough. Your authenticity is enough. And that's the kind of energy that transforms superficial connections into unforgettable experiences. If you've made it to this point, all I can say is thank you. Thank you for giving yourself this moment, for allowing yourself to listen, reflect, and open your mind and heart to a new way of relating. If something I shared today resonated with you, if it made you feel seen, understood, or simply left you pondering, then it was already worth it. Always remember, your value isn't measured by how much others desire you, but by how deeply you respect yourself. Thank you for giving yourself this moment, for allowing yourself to listen, reflect, and open your mind and heart to a new way of relating. If something I shared today resonated with you, if it made you feel seen, understood, or simply left you pondering, then it was already worth it. Always remember, your value isn't measured by how much others desire you, but by how deeply you respect yourself. It incredibly helps me to keep creating with passion. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, now is the time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because what's coming will be even deeper. Sending you a warm hug full of light, and I'll see you soon.